Hey everyone, patching into today's video. A huge amount going on for today's video. We're going to be having a look at the charts of thunderstorms coming up today. Also having a look at all the detail for Sunday. The track of the ex-Hurricane Bertha is proving to be a real nightmare for forecasters to pin down. I'll have a look at that in this video, show you why it's proving such a job to pin down and the reason it's important as well. Also have a look at the Japanese model. It's JMA Friday, as always on a Friday. The month-ahead forecast from Japan has updated and that'll be taking us through to the start of September. Can you believe? Have a look at some charts from CFS model as well for the next month and the next week to 10-day situation. So bit of an epic, I have to say, of this video. Before I get on with it though, just talk about the advertising. My video ads on my page here is at gasweathers.com. Hit play on the video ad. You'll be helping to support gasweathers.com. Thanks so much for doing that. So let's start off at the beginning with today's thunderstorm risk, and we've got some showers here on the radar picture from the weatheroutlook.com. Not too many, but there are some breaking out across the northeastern parts of England, also coming down towards the north of London. A few thundery showers breaking out there. I think things will get more widespread through the course of this afternoon. This weather front out in the west isn't going to make a great deal more progress eastwards before it starts to fizz out. That's bringing quite a bit of heavy rain in towards extreme western Frisia, but it's really these storms across eastern, central and eventually northeastern parts of the country that is the concern. This is the high-resolution Euro 4 precipitation forecast from a website Weather Online. This is a UK Met Office product, and the BBC forecast, rainfall forecast, are based on this model. So this is the situation that it was seen at 6 o'clock this morning with that weather front out to the west, a few showers breaking out around the wash. Let's see how it handles these showers through the course of this afternoon. Well, there's that weather system in the west grinding to a bit of a halt through the Irish Sea, but things do break out in the east. In terms of those thunderstorms, yeah, we've got some torrential storms breaking out through central southern parts of Scotland, going down in towards northern England, through into the north of the East Midlands, Lincolnshire particularly the focus for some heavy storms, and then coming down in towards the southeast. This area here is the area of greatest concern, I think, through northern England down in towards Lincolnshire, possibly even north of the East Midlands. These areas could see some torrential storms through the course of this afternoon, possibly giving flash flooding, lightning, hail, you know it is going to be happening in some of those areas. They're going to be scattered. Not everyone will get one, but if you do get a storm this afternoon, you could well know about it. I'll probably update I'll probably update the storm watch page if things do develop this afternoon in terms of these storms, so we'll have an in-depth look this afternoon if things do kick off. As we go through to tonight, the storms push northwards and eastwards and start to move out in towards the North Sea, so that by the morning they're really confined to eastern parts of Scotland, northeast England. Saturday looks a much drier day, a few showers out in the west, but a large amount of dry weather, I think, through the course of Saturday. Here's the rain beginning to gather though down in the southwest, associated with the low pressure that has the remains of the ex-tropical storm Bertha. These are the facts charts. These are the human interpretation of the models by the forecasters at the UK Met Office. This is the facts chart for midnight on Sunday, because this is going to be our next problem. Let's get these storms out of the way. Next focus is Sunday. This is the low pressure here that's causing all the problems, all the headaches. It has the remains of tropical storm or ex-hurricane Bertha. Its exact track is important because it could bring gales across parts of the country. It will bring, I think, many parts heavy rain, but its exact track is going to be important in terms of where the strongest winds are. This is how the UK Met see things at midday on Sunday, with that low pressure centred down across the channel. This is very different from what the GFS model is showing. I'll show you the GFS in a moment. By the time we get through to midnight on Monday, that low pressure has moved from the channel in towards the North Sea, so presumably it pushes up across central southeast parts of England and Wales, and it's lying there in the North Sea by that time, taking the heavy rain up across England and Wales. Now, the strongest of the winds are going to be on the southern side of this area of low pressure, so depending on its track, the strongest of the winds, the strongest of the winds could go through northern parts of France in that sort of direction if the UK Met Office idea is correct and it's to the south. If this low pressure comes further northward, so it's taking that sort of track, and that's what the GFS is showing really, then the strongest of the winds are going to be through here across much of England and Wales. So it just depends really. It's only a few hundred miles in it, to be honest, but it's going to make a big difference as to where the very worst of the winds are. With trees in full leaf, there could be some pretty severe gales, I think, as we go through the course of Sunday afternoon. Here's how the FACTS charts are seeing things by midday on Monday, and by then the low pressures off the eastern coast of Scotland. Now the GFS is much further north of this area of low pressure. Here we are at midnight on Sunday, and the low pressure is already in across Ireland as a 990 millibar feature. That low pressure then moves across northern parts of England through the Irish Sea into northern England. 985 millibars is the central pressure by 6 o'clock in the morning. As we get through to midday on Sunday, there's the low pressure sitting around northern England, southwest Scotland. As I said, the strongest of winds, the worst winds on the southern side. So at this point, the FACTS charts from the UK Met Office have this area of low pressure somewhere around here. Just off the south coast, the centre of it, whereas the GFS is much further north, has it just there. And as I say, the difference with that is that the strongest of the winds are coming through here across the bulk of England and Wales, whereas if the FACTS charts, if UK Met Office is right, the strongest of the winds will be going through here across the northern parts of France. So there's only a few hundred miles in. It's not a great difference in terms of miles, but it's going to make a big difference in terms of the actual weather that we get on Sunday. I think many places are going to have heavy rain on Sunday. It's just determining where the worst of the winds are. By 6 o'clock in the evening on Sunday, that low pressure is really centred over Scotland, whereas the FACTS charts have it somewhere across the Midlands or East Anglia. Now the rainfall from the GFS shows that we are bringing in heavy rain here across many parts of Ireland at midnight on Sunday. As we move through into the course of Sunday itself, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, a heavy area of rain comes across the whole of the country. Worst of it is probably across Ireland though. As we get through to midday, the worst of rain is actually clearing away into the North Sea. There is heavy rain, but it is moving off to the east. So that's when the strongest of the winds will probably come in behind that band of rain if this solution is correct. By 6 o'clock in the evening, these are showers really up to the north and west. It is drying out to the east as the worst of the heavy rain then pushes off into central parts of the continent. But huge amounts of uncertainty of this. It's not quite within the time frame of the high-res Euro 4 model yet, so we'll know more later on today and particularly through the course of Saturday. But it's worth keeping an eye on things, because if the GFS is right, we are looking at a notably windy spell for the time of year anyway across many parts of England and Wales on Sunday. Right, let's have a look at the JMA for the next month. This is the Japanese model, JMA Friday. These are 500 millibar heights, broken down into weekly periods. The first thing to say is that British Isles is upside down, just there as we always are on these charts. Blue colours indicating low pressure, yellows and orange indicating high pressure. The first week period is taking us from the 7th to the 14th of August, the week that we're currently in, and well, no price of what's going on there. We're under a trough of low pressure, so it's cool, it's unsettled. The jet stream is running around that trough like that, so on the cool side of the jet, we're under a trough of low pressure. It's going to be a pretty grim old week of it. In the next week, low pressure won't truly in control, showers, longer spells of rain, and temperatures below where they should be. Getting through to the second week period, which takes us from the 14th to the 21st of August, we start to build a bit of high pressure out in the Atlantic to the south of Greenland. The trough is beginning to slip down to the south. It's an improving picture. It's still relatively unsettled, but I think the ridge up to the northwest probably having more of an influence, so it's a bit better. Not as showery, not as wet. It's pretty cool, I think, really. The air is coming from a northwesterly type direction, or a northerly type direction generally. But it's a bit better. It's an improving picture through that middle part of August. Now, as we get through to the final 2-week period, which takes from the 21st of August to the 4th of September, As I say, just for suggestion then, that high pressure is starting to ridge in for the end of the start of September with those yellow colours. So we've got a ridge of high pressure mainly centred out in the Atlantic. It's still probably relatively cool because the air generally is probably coming something like that around that ridge from a northerly or northeasterly direction. But it's a bit better. It's an improving picture, I think, as we get through to the second half of August. It's turning drier, and despite the fact that temperatures won't be that exciting on that sort of scenario, it's probably a bit warmer as well. The sun should still have enough strength in it at this time of year. So an improving picture from a Japanese model for the end of August and the start of September, with the suggestions that a ridge could build in. Here's the CFS broken down into weekly periods for the coming month. This first week period takes us from the 7th to the 13th of August. Got a trough of low pressure out to west of the country. It's unsettled, it's cool. That's very similar to the Japanese model, actually. The jet stream is running through something like that. So it's unsettled, it's cool for the coming week. It's not going to be great, have to say. The second weekly period takes us from the 14th to the 20th of September, and it's very similar to the Japanese, actually. You've got this ridge building up here out to the northwest. The trough is beginning to slink away to the south, so it's improving. It's still probably quite showery, but things are getting a little bit better in this period. It's probably quite cool because the air is still coming sort of that direction from the northeast, or maybe eventually the east, so it's not going to be terribly exciting with the temperatures, but it's a bit better. It's improving, turning drier from the north and the northwest, although probably still relatively cool. Getting through to the third week period, going from the 21st to the 27th of August, and then we've got this area of high pressure taking over. A bit of a difference there from the Japanese model. The Japanese has it more centred in this sort of area, but nevertheless, it's sort of the idea that as we get through to the latter stages of August, high pressure is beginning to build in. We're starting to turn it drier, probably warmer as well, with the airflow maybe coming a little bit more easterly on that sort of direction. Don't expect a heat wave, I wouldn't expect heat wave on that, but probably warmer and drier for the end of August. And then as we get through to the final week period, going from the 28th of August to the 3rd of September, high pressure's in quite nicely then across the country, building in, still centred more or less to the north or the northeast, but it's ridging down over the country, and the airflow's probably, if anything, going a little bit southeasterly with that, so it could be turning a bit warmer right at the end of the August into the start of September. And of course, early September is often a time when it does turn pretty warm and dry, so maybe improvements ahead as we get through to the very end of August into the start of September. Just have a look at the next week to 10 days. This is the GFS. This is for the end of next week, Thursday the 14th. From that trough of low pressure is still sitting there to the northeast of Scotland, so it's still cool and unsettled. We saw it on the longer range charts. The JMA and the CFS both agree it's going to be cool and settled through much of the coming week. Going into Friday the 15th, we're in this northwesterly flow across the country, so it's not great, it's showery. And as we get through to the weekend, the 16th, and on in towards the 17th of August, we may start to build up a bit of a ridge to the southwest. That could take drier and warmer up there, although it's still relatively unsettled to the north of Scotland. And going through to day 10, which is going to take us through to Monday the 18th of August. Well, a bit of a messy situation. We've got a bit of high pressure bridging to the south, We've got low pressure up to the north, low pressure trying to build up towards Greenland as well. I think it's generally unsettled up to the north, but it's drier down to the south. What we could have with that, though, is a bit of a wriggling weather front strung out somewhere in that sort of direction. So northern areas could be more unsettled with that, but overall it's a bit better down south. And this is sort of the time frame where the Japanese and the CFS model are seeing things sort of getting a bit better, if anything. And I think the GFS is seeing that to some degree, that things may start to get a bit better as we get through to the third week of August. The east temperature there finally, there's the low pressure out to the northeast towards the end of next week, and those cool and showery northwesterly winds. as we move through into the weekend, again, we tried to generate this little bit of a ridge in the south, but it's still unsettled up to the north, to be honest. Getting through today, 10, Monday the 18th. Again, it's that messy sort of situation, low pressure to the north, high pressure is ridging a little bit to the south and out in the Atlantic. There's probably a weather front, again, strung out somewhere around here with waves running along it, taking pulses of rain. So I'd expect the north to be quite unsettled with that, but the south maybe not too bad and improving sort of style. And that could be where we go as we get through into the latter stages of August. We may see things getting quite a bit better if these longer range charts are correct. So we still haven't really pinned down exactly what's going on Sunday, talking about the start of September, and we still haven't really got Sunday pinned down. A bit ironic, isn't it? But I'll keep you updated on that. We'll know more definitely by the time to do the weekend forecast tomorrow. Could be thunderstorms kicking off in the east and the north this afternoon. If they do blow up, I'll update the Storm Watch page probably later on. And then going out beyond that, it's unsettled and cool through much of the coming week up to the middle of August. Perhaps improving picture in the second half of the month. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.